Hey, good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everyone that's attending. Thank you for joining our webinar on customer intelligence with Intellizence panelist Sachi Kumarasamy, the CEO and founder of Intellizence, and Denise Stokowski, who is the VP of Group VP of Platform Products at Gainsight. So thank you both for joining. My name is Bipin Lakhani, and I'm the lead in business development at Intellizence Inc. So happy to be here. And this webinar is being recorded, so will be sent to all participants that are registered as well. So thank you for joining. And with that, I'll just turn it over to you, Denise, for a short introduction of yourself, and then over to Sachi as well.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Denise Stokowski. I'm our Group VP of Platform Products at Gainsight. So for those of you that may or may not know Gainsight, we are the customer success company. We produce products for supporting the driving outcomes of customer success with customers for B2B clients. We also have Gainsight PX, which I also manage, which is product experience. So giving usage analytics as well as driving user onboarding and experiences from within an application. So happy to join the Intellizence group today. And we'll talk a little bit about how we actually use Intellizence within Gainsight.
Awesome, thank you. Sachi?
Yeah, my name is Sachi Kumarasamy. I'm the founder and CEO of Intellizence. Intellizence is an AI startup focused on company and market intelligence. We enable customers to get timely and actionable intelligence to help them to grow and stay ahead in their business. I'm based out of Toronto.
Awesome. And about myself, I just got a background in financial services, both in data, business development, as well as CRM applications. So that's my strong suit. On another lighter note, I'm married and father of 2 children, one who's about to be married in about a year. So that's a little bit about me. So thank you again. And I guess, we're going to have just a bit of a conversation here today. So, Sachi, let me start with you. I know you founded Intellizence because you saw a gap in customer intelligence, and that was the reason for you starting this business. Can you tell us a little bit about what customer intelligence is and what this gap was that made you build a company out of this?
That's right. So in a B2B context, customer is an important stakeholder because they bring us the money to run the business. But there are a lot of changes that are happening in customer organizations, like say a customer got acquired. So obviously there is changes in the decision-making process, so which could lead to a potential churn. Or customers got funded, then there is a propensity to spend money on new product and services. So there is an opportunity for an upselling your product and services. But how to monitor all these changes happening in your customer organizations so that you could identify a new business opportunity or mitigate your risks, or even to make better business decisions. So an analogy that I would use is, before you step down from your house, you check your weather app, what's happening outside, or you check your traffic app, right? But so based on those situations, the outside environment, you plan your day or make your decisions. The same thing, based on what's happening with your customer environment, get those intelligence and make better decisions to grow your business.
Awesome, thank you. So, Denise, I'm going to send this over to you, but I just want to play off that thought a little bit that Sachi had. He says when you step out of your house, you check your weather app or you check your driving app. And I'm sure you, as many others, kind of say, well, hey, what do I need intelligence for? Because I can just go out on my phone and check the weather app, and what value do they add? So keeping that in mind, how has this whole concept of customer intelligence fit with your organization, which is a CS platform? And then maybe if you can talk a little bit about your thoughts on how it's been impacting your customer acquisition or your customer relationship management.
Yeah, definitely. So similar to what Sachi was saying, I mean, for customer success managers, one of the key things that they want to do intelligently is be able to communicate with their customers, number one. And number two, most importantly, is they care about things that ultimately impact NRR, net retention rate. So that means keeping the customers you have, retaining them, as well as growing those customers. So while we had customers that were trying to do things with general news, what they really cared about is what are the kinds of events that can impact what we call NRR, and hopefully the group here is familiar with that term. So we looked specifically to provide those kind of traffic alerts and weather alerts that are actually material, right? So just like when you, if you were just to get general news about traffic that may or may not be relevant to you, you want specific type events on specific type of routes for that to be relevant. So in a similar way, our CSMs really needed our end users, which are customer success managers or CSMs, wanted guidance and news and intelligence that was specifically relevant to the kind of work they do with their customers. So one of the things we focused on was what are those kind of signals that make a difference in this space. So we looked at signals that may impact actually churn risk, which was kind of number one focus that our customers think about. So things that happen, which we often categorize in the customer success arena as uncontrollable churn, if you will, right? So these are about external things that happen that you as a company don't have direct control in. But we also recognize even if they're categorized as uncontrollable churn, some of them do offer opportunities if you're proactive enough. So our customers wanted intelligence that was timely and relevant to really helping retention. So certain things you might not be able to do something about, like maybe if the company's closing down shop, if they're maybe depending on the terms of like bankruptcy or something, there might be things that you actually can't do something about. But there's other events that present maybe a churn risk that if you have timely intelligence, you can actually do something about. So for example, things like mergers and acquisitions, maybe your customer that buys your products is acquired. That's both a risk and an opportunity if you can act quickly enough on really understanding what that acquisition will look like and having conversations about it. And on the flip side, looking for growth opportunities where customers are basically, maybe they're filing for IPO, maybe they're increasing sort of their employee count. Maybe there's even something, again, that you can either might be a risk or an opportunity, like there's key executive changes that might be relevant for the customer in the way you serve them. So that's what we really focus on, is how do we give the right signals that are relevant to what CSMs care about, which is increasing net retention.
Oh boy, I got so many follow-up questions. I don't think we have enough time here. But, that was a good explanation, Denise. Thank you. And it sounds like you have found a partner that can be a conduit to help provide that signal to the client. But that kind of, before I ask you another follow-up question, I think I wanted to go to Sachi, because it sounds like there's a universe of things happening out there with customers and companies and different kinds of things. And these signals that Denise is talking about, which is just an event that occurs within an organization, merger, acquisition, it could be a bankruptcy, a closure, a layoff, whatever the case is. Obviously, if you can tell me, like, how these are challenging ways to monitor this. It sounds to me like you're using some form of artificial intelligence to zone in on this. Can you maybe share with us what these challenges are? Like, how do we find those signals, and then how are you using AI to overcome these challenges?
Absolutely. So I think that the problem is not about finding those information, but because there is too much of information already available in the public domain, but there is information overload, and there is a lot of noise, as well as this information is in an unstructured and scattered in different places like in news or a press wires, or maybe in an earnings call transcripts and company websites and in multiple formats. What Intellizence has built, we have built a proprietary curation platform that would monitor all these sources and then filters out the noise, deduplicates, and then contextually classify, and then deliver it in a different channels like an email or an integration with the Gainsight platform, where within some of those workflows. Maybe I could give some sort of an example that would help you to understand.
Sure. Just before you give me that example, though, when you say you've got too much of information and you've got a whole lot of stuff happening out there, I mean, I can set a Google alert and say I want something, and it'll give it to me, right? So there's a way of dealing with it. I'm sure. How do you handle that specifically, differently, or do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll connect with the same example that I was thinking about. So we have Nick Mehta, the CEO of Gainsight. Now you have Gainsight have like thousands of customers. Now he would like to know when one of his customers got funding, so he can send a congrats note to them, to the CEO. Now Denise, she's from the product side. She would like to know whenever there is a product launches happening there. So this could be an important signal from a Denise perspective. So two people within the same organization, the signals could be different. Now the challenge is, if it is a one or two company, then there could be a high touch where they can talk to their customers and get to know this information. But when it is in hundreds or in thousands of companies, it's not humanly not possible to know what's happening. And that's not an efficient way also. All right. But platform like Intellizence could monitor those thousands of companies and then identify relevance based on the context, not based on the text match, and then deliver it to whom that is relevant. For Nick, funding could be irrelevant. For Dennis, it's a product launch is irrelevant. All right. So that's the core piece that we solve.
I get it now. So carry on with that example that you were going to provide.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I thought of. Yeah.
Okay, good. So it sounds like you have the ability to monitor literally hundreds of thousands of sources and hundreds of thousands of companies or signals. So you don't care like what company you're monitoring, you just care about the signal. And if there is a funding that happened anywhere in the world, you're going to pick it up, and as long as it's in the English language, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You're going to pick it up and boom, you're going to deliver something on it. Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, so Denise, I mean, I guess maybe if you can walk us through the journey of how did Gainsight start to maybe address this, and how did you land on, say, Intellizence as a partner, and how has that journey gone for you?
Yeah, absolutely, Bipin. And maybe to talk a little bit about the capability that we built and continue to build upon within the Gainsight customer success application. We have an offering we call Company Intelligence. So we don't wrap intelligence into the name, but obviously that core capability is where we use Intellizence to serve that. So like Sachi was talking about, we wanted to provide a way that CSMs could get like relevant information to them. So the way we started the process to kind of start vetting Intellizence and sort of the, if you will, actionability of the information, was it relevant for the kind of things that our end users care about? We actually piloted initially internally. So we worked, this was before we had built kind of the overall framework in our product, but we started working with Intellizence to actually see, could we get relevant information about our customers that our CSMs cared about? So we ran a pilot. There was like really, frankly, excellent feedback all the way from CEO to salespeople to CSMs that this information was relevant. And frankly, the point about noise cannot be understated, right? We were getting relevant news, but not too much, right? Because there is information overload as well. So we explored, we really moved forward then on defining our feature of Company Intelligence. And one of the things we wanted to make sure is that not only people could receive the companies and signals they cared about, so each user, as Sachi was talking about, but they could also receive it in the channel that made the most sense for them. So one of the things we have an application that integrates with Slack. We originally launched it so people get Slack notifications and then decide, how do I want to deal with this information with Gainsight? Do I want to post it to timeline? Do I want to share it? And so then we expanded, hey, what about other ways to make sure that we can offer this to everybody? So we have a view that's called Your Customer 360. So anybody maybe that's going to meet with a customer can get visibility into some of these key events that are going on. And importantly, we continue to enhance it. For example, we got feedback from our customers. We were very cautious about, let's not create noise. Let's make sure we know the signals are relevant. So what we do is we measure who looks at each signal in our product, and we measure who takes action, right? So what are the signals that are driving the most actions? And so based on that, we kind of further tailor the signals. And in fact, we got feedback that actually our customers wanted more visibility. So we're actually just launching this month additional signals around product launches and business expansion.
Okay, great. I'm going to come back a little bit to the signal component of it, but I think it's quite timely here because normally I will field some Q&As from at the end, but I have an attendee who's got a question now, and I think it's a good question. So I'm going to pose this to you, Denise, but maybe Sachi can shed some light as well. And the question is, how soon do you get these signals from when this happens? Because I think that's quite relevant to this because, you know, news is pretty real time these days and you want to be able to get things fairly quickly. So how soon do you get them?
So typically currently we continuously monitor for scan for every 1 hour, but the delivery happens at least for an customers like a customer success managers, it's like once in 24 hours. Because what happens, say even if there is an acquisition, that would be covered by multiple sources. Then it becomes a duplicate. Then people complain it as a noise. So what, even like within Intellizence, what we do, we continuously scan sources, but we also automatically sort of cluster it or deduplicates it. And then when it gets delivered, it would be like an one. so that people, then it becomes the signal is much more relevant rather than keep pushing the same news again and again when people perceive it as a noise. So the answer is like once in 24 hours.
Okay, so that's good. So basically, if something were to happen today and the wires got a hold of it, you would deliver it by tomorrow morning, kind of thing.
Yeah, by morning 9 a.m. Eastern time, they would get an all-in update. So they don't need to go and keep looking for information. Every day by morning 9 to 10 a.m., they all get to know about what's happening with their customers based on their configuration.
So within 24 hours. And then so it's, and this could be, if you're monitoring a signal such as, say, acquisitions, then this is all the acquisitions that happened in the past 24 hours, it'll be delivered to you, whether you're tracking the company or not tracking the company.
No, it's only for the companies that they're interested in. So that's the configuration. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And these signals, just as a follow-up to that question, these signals are, we only deliver and do things in one language, which is English language, right? Is that, or are you doing something in another language?
At this point of time, the focus is primarily on the North America, but that's on the English. But we have a product roadmap to extend into other languages.
Okay. Okay. So Denise, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point. What, just are there things that you can, because I want to just maybe have you wrap this component out and I can turn it over to, for a few more questions coming from the audience. What are some things that help you consolidate perhaps how this partnership is working together, and then I can open it up for some Q&A.
Yeah, so one of the, I guess, key things is that obviously we want to continue delivering value specifically to the point, like I brought up earlier, of growing net retention rate for our customers. And so one of the things that we have found is, and certainly through probably anybody in the audience that has dealt in customer success or sales or renewals has probably experienced, is that there's a lot of focus, and obviously our platform supports getting a lot of focus on the signals you have internally, right? So things like, how do they use your product? Who are the users? Who are your executive stakeholders? And all these things that you can manage directly. And really being able to bring in this external or outside in information allows us to actually input into a very important part of probably most customer success organizations, which is understanding the health of a customer so that you can act upon it. So this partnership has really helped us expand the ability to make sure that you're understanding health both internally with your data and signals, but also externally understanding the health of a given customer based on incorporating the right signals into what's going on with the customer. So Intellizence has really helped us build upon that framework of, we understand that there's important things internally that I get to control, but there's important things externally that happen that I need to be aware of and act on as well.
Okay, great. Any closing words from you, Sachi, before I turn it over to Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point of time, the maturity is more around, okay, I get to know about what's happening with my customers, but there could be a lot of opportunity, as Denise has mentioned. How do you marry these external signals with an internal data for your scoring, health scoring, opportunity scoring, or a risk scoring, or even to build things like trends, say which of my sectors or in the particular region got a lot more funding, right? So not on a day-to-day basis, but on a period of time. So what's happening within my customer base? So that that would help you some inputs for your strategic planning. So, even if you ask any of the CEOs, hey, do you know how many of your customers got acquired in the last 6 months? It's unlikely they know the answer because there is no such data right now. It's there, right? So there could be an opportunity to build some sort of a cognitive search within the organization, so which could help them to answer these set of questions. So these are some of the product roadmap that we have, and we continue to work with Gainsight so that the Gainsight platform customers can access to all these interesting features in the near future.
Okay. Well, Denise and Sachi, I really want to say thank you to both of you. But before I let you guys go too, I want to just turn it over to the audience for Q&A. You'll see a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. If you wanted to raise your hand or you wanted to chat, just feel free to use any of those buttons to go ahead. Sure. Denise, I do have a couple questions in the hopper here right now. One is a question around, and this is on customer intelligence, but what signals did you mentioned you're launching like product expansion or business expansion rather than product launches earlier or this coming month. How did you determine from the universe of signals that Intellizence monitors? They monitor about 100 plus signals for business events. How did you decide to zone in on, and what signals are you using? What seems to be relevant?
Yeah, and again, sort of tying to, we understand that our customers' goals and sort of their main activity with their customers are around keeping them and growing them. So initially we wanted to balance that with making sure that we were clear on making sure we weren't creating noise, right? We wanted to make sure that what we were delivering was of high value and that value could be recognized quickly. There's hardly any setup to using this and getting value. So the first positive signals we supported were like funding and IPO based signals. The negative ones were bankruptcy and downsizing. And then there's things that I would call, well, it's unclear whether it'll be positive or negative, but depending on having intelligent ways to interact with customers and new organizations, things like M&A and executive changes, which have a very high relationship to whether customers stay or go. Those things are always in almost every B2B company we work with, really important factors. So you could turn it positive or turn it negative. So we started with that group. And then with our customers that are using our company intelligence feature, they actually wanted even more information about relevant events that, the stakeholders and the people that they're meeting with at their companies might be thinking about. So we expanded into product launches and business expansion, because one of the things actually, interestingly, CSMs also wanted to be able to do is have reasons, right, to be able to connect, especially in the cases where you want to be able to communicate with your customers that we know you. So we know what's going on with your business. So that was kind of the driver, was basically from our customers wanting some of these additional, but we definitely took a let's not overload them with noise. Let's do things we know that make sense and then expand from there. The other thing I'll just comment on that Sachi was mentioning around getting a visibility to trends. So one of the things we also allow our customers to do is kind of report. So all this information is not only those signals, but also you have a history of the signals so you can really understand which ones are the most important or most critical to act on within your business.
That's wonderful. There's two more questions, and I know we're just a little short on time, so I'm just gonna ask you to just say, for a few seconds if you wanted to answer it. By the way, anybody that wants to have a look at our platform, please hop onto the Intellizence.com website and schedule a demo with us. We'll be happy to walk you through the demo of our product, as well as the, understand what your use cases are. And depending on your use case, we might even offer you a trial of a week or 2 weeks. So, please feel free to do that. But Denise, this one's for you. I think, what sort of questions are your customers asking you? Are they, asking you something different? Do you have any insight on that?
So what sorts of questions are they asking us in terms of company intelligence?
Or customer, company intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're moving towards is actually be able to share some of the trends around customer success as it relates to these areas. So that's kind of a key part of what we're giving visibility to right now, is to a given customer, what might be relevant to them, but we want to expand to how can we talk to the market a little bit more about best practices around acting on these signals themselves.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Sachi, this final thought to you, the question is around, and I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, but it's around artificial intelligence is such a dynamic, robust science, technology, trend, slash whatever you want to call it. There's so many things going on in this world of AI. How do you keep up? And what's your, maybe, product roadmap here a little bit? Is this putting pressure on you in any way? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a lot of evolution that is happening in the AI space. Specifically, our focus is more on the natural language processing, more on the text data. So we started with the news, and then we built a few years ago when we started, even there was not many commercial NLP models were available. But right now, we are using the most sophisticated commercial model like the Google's BERT for some of our techniques, and we use combination of multiple techniques. But having said that, we also keep scanning for what is the latest, because we use multiple components like a classification or a similarity or other NER models. So we keep scanning for what is available in the market so that we can incorporate those best methods so we can continue to provide value to the customers. So that.
Okay, well, look, Sachi and Denise, I would like to really, really thank you both for your time. We've run a minute over, so I apologize to anybody else, but I really want to thank you for your time and thank you for sharing your thoughts. And until our next webinar in another month, we look forward to reconnecting, and thank you again. Take care. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.